Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. A massive story is breaking as we speak in regards to mortgage fraud and potential fake income mortgages out of Ontario from a major Canadian bank. We're going to talk about that story, and of course we're going to talk about its implications on Vancouver real estate as well. Real quick, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Hassan. I'm a real estate agent in the Vancouver area, and I make educational real estate content to help you on your real estate journey. I also make content designed to help you make your move in and around Vancouver. So if that sounds interesting to you and you wanted to chat with me one-on-one, you can book me for a free call in the Calendly link below. But regardless, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future video. All right, so as I'm recording this video, a story has just broken over the last couple days from a publication called The Bureau in regards to potential mortgage fraud and fake income mortgages in the hundreds of millions of dollars out of HSBC in Ontario. In fact, a whistleblower at the mortgage approval level has come forward to this publication to share his findings. I'm going to give you some background on this story, on this individual. So essentially he emigrated here from India, was in BC for a while working in the banks in, I believe, Campbell River, also on the mortgage side of the equation. Didn't really see any red flags or anything concerning while working out of Campbell River. Moved over into Ontario, specifically Aurora, which I guess is a more wealthy area around Toronto. And as he's in the mortgage approval department, and so as he's going through not only his own files of mortgages, but seeing his colleagues' files, he's noticing a lot of red flags and discrepancies in terms of income being reported and the buyer's actual situation. So for example, what he's seeing in some of these mortgage approval files that are getting approved are part-time workers. I think they had one buyer that was a part-time hairdresser, yet they claimed to be making over $500,000 from a remote position based out of China. There were other examples of, again, part-time workers here getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for remote work from another country. There was one where one of the buyers, I believe they showed that they were making $700,000 annually, yet they still had a student loan of $10,000 that wasn't getting paid off. So he started to notice these massive red flags, big question marks. He started to ask the questions. He took it to his branch level supervisors, the managers, and he just found a network of a lot of people, in his opinion, being complicit in what was going on, turning a blind eye, getting these mortgages approved. And he realized that going through the branch channels was not going to get him the answers that he needed. He mentioned he was struggling to sleep at night. He couldn't sleep. He realized that these types of mortgages, red flag mortgages with foreign income that was, it was being verified, but was it really? In the sense that, a lot of these verification procedures, some organizations overseas will actually have groups that will do the income verification. They'll have fake employment letters, whatever it might be. He was feeling, and he could see these red flags. He took it to supervisors. They didn't do anything. So finally he decided in 2022 he was going to take it to the executive level at HSBC. So he writes a 4-page email with his findings, sends it to the executives, and literally says, I am going to uncover this mortgage fraud that is happening at your bank if nothing is done about this. And so he sends the 4-page email. He does get a response back, and in fact him going up the ladder did bring about some changes at the bank, but in his opinion not enough. So he ended up going to this publication about 7 or 8 months ago. This publication does its own investigation into some of the files and the findings, and went to their own sources as well, 6 or 7 other sources, including Andy Yan, who is an urban planner out of SFU here in Vancouver, who in 2015, we'll talk about in a sec, in 2015 he uncovered under his own investigation what was happening in Vancouver real estate and the flow of money from overseas. Now, back to this whistleblower, he saw that this was all heightened surrounding the pandemic time, and because at this time it was very common for people to work remote positions, and it was more easy to justify if someone was working a remote position. Perhaps they were over here, yet they were, employed in a different country because of the travel restrictions. So remote positions, as we all know, they became more popular, became easier for some of these mortgages to go through and justify scenarios where, there was foreign income. However, the individual was here. But he cited, examples of, shift supervisors making $200,000 a year, like just discrepancies that you and we would look at and we'd say, okay, this is not making a lot of sense. In fact, in his, in his own investigation, so when he went to the branch managers, he went to the executive level, he saw that not enough was happening. He continued his investigation. And what he found is through about 10 branches, at least $500 million in these questionable type of mortgages were approved. So he kept investigating, talking to other employees, keeping track records of text messages. In fact, he was sending, private documents to his own personal email. He was on a mission. This was obviously something that was a big struggle for him internally, and he was on a mission to uncover this to the world, to the country, to the world, and ultimately, again, that just broke over the last couple days. So, at the senior levels of the bank, they did respond to him. They didn't really respond on the story. They just said, look, we have our own measures in place to guard against, this sort of activity. Now, I want to circle back to Vancouver, right? And Vancouver, Andy Yan, like I mentioned, 2015, he did, if you recall, he did his own sort of investigation into Vancouver West Side homes. And predominantly, I think it was either 2015 or 2016, he was looking at the, the multi-million-dollar mortgages that were handed out during that period. And he found that on the Vancouver West Side, the majority of these mortgages were going to homeowners, home buyers that had professions such as homemaker, I think was the most popular, student, manager, multi-million-dollar mortgages that just, it didn't quite add up. And I did a video about this whole story. I did a short video on Instagram, TikTok, hundreds of thousands of views, thousands of comments. This is a very triggering topic, understandably, for a lot of people. So, one of the questions that we've always asked is, how is there this great discrepancy between income levels, what people are actually earning, and the price of real estate? How did we get here? And I think this highlights the answer to that. This is why there's this great discrepancy, because some of the comments on my videos were, so what? Who cares? So what? Well, the so what about it is when you have this capital inflow from another country getting pumped into real estate, you're obviously, to some, you're making real estate more unaffordable for the masses, right? And so this is how we end up in a scenario where, everyone's motivation to purchase real estate is different. I talk about this quite a bit when it comes to residential real estate, is when you're writing an offer on a property, you have no idea, the person that you're competing with, the buyer, what their scenario is. And, with all of this stuff being uncovered, and this is nothing new, this has obviously been going on for some time, you may be going up against someone that is backed by fraudulent foreign capital, right? And then you stand no chance. And these are the type of offers you'll sometimes see on properties that are, $100,000 more than the last offer. Even though they're not seeing what the other offer is, it'll be way higher than market value. It'll drive up the price. And it's because of various reasons, that motivation level. They need to get the money here. Perhaps it's capital flight out of another country. Political turmoil will often make buyers in other countries want to pump their money into something considered more stable. And Vancouver real estate, Canadian real estate, has always been considered as such. So when we say so what, when we turn a blind eye, it ultimately inflates real estate prices to a point where you cannot earn enough money through a Canadian company, unless you are you're an entrepreneur, you have your own businesses to get into, these higher priced, detached homes. And this is how things ran away. Going to be very interesting to see what happens now moving forward. You may or may not know HSBC is being purchased by RBC, and RBC is going to close this deal in the first quarter of this year. It's imminent. The sale is about to go through. So what are the further implications going to be? Everyone's keeping an eye on it. Now, you can't just say that this is one bank that this is happening with. I'm not saying that every bank is doing it, but when you have billions of dollars in residential mortgages that you're looking at, there's going to be discrepancy, there's going to be margin of error, there's going to be stuff that gets overlooked. So this is not just a one bank thing. This obviously will happen. I hate to say it, but naturally in some occasions things will slip through the cracks. Now, one of the other questions I get, or the comments I got, was, okay, well, you realtors, you're all complicit. You all know about this. You're involved in it. You're getting mortgage documents, faked, all this sort of stuff. And I think what's really important to note is, as real estate agents, our involvement on the mortgage side of the equation is extremely, extremely minimal. I can talk about myself. When I have clients come to me, my job and my expertise are helping people buy properties, doing due diligence for them and with them on properties, and selling and marketing properties via social media. That's my bread and butter. That's what I do. That's what I'm good at. And when clients come to me with intricate mortgage questions, or they need any sort of mortgage help, I refer them, yes, to mortgage partners, and I allow the mortgage partners to have that conversation. 95% of the time, I don't know all of the intricate details of a client's financial situation. I am finding out whether they are pre-approved for a mortgage, but I'm not getting into the nitty-gritty of it. I leave that to the experts, and I allow myself to be an expert in my realm. And I know that this happens majority of the time. So to think that, realtors are in common practice out there trying to, squeeze out higher mortgage approvals for clients, we're just not in that business. And, why would a real estate agent or even a mortgage broker try and eke out, another 50 grand or 75 grand approval for a buyer? Really the commission difference, believe it or not, it's quite nominal. It's small. Why would anyone want to take that risk, first of all? And secondly, how would anyone be able to sleep at night knowing you're putting a buyer into that position? So the vast majority of real estate agents are not involved in that financial side. And I would take it one step further to say that, if you have a real estate agent you're working with and they're diving too deeply into your financial situation, they're asking too many questions, they're asking for you to send them income documents, that is a massive red flag. We should not be getting involved in that. And I think you should be working with a realtor who's just a realtor. If someone comes to you and says, I do this, I do that, I can do the mortgage, I can do everything, that's, in my opinion, I think you need to be working with a specialist that specializes in real estate, and then you need to work with a specialist on the mortgage side. Now, having said all of this, I think, in the instances where this is occurring, fake income, fake employment, it's generally, as I understand it, it would start at the client level or the buyer level. They are the ones that are trying to get themselves approved for more money. It's not the mortgage broker again or the realtor trying to squeeze out more money here. It's an individual that their motivation level is so high to get into a property. So they are investigating, they are going through the channels, they are trying to find someone that can help them in this regard. They feel that they can make the payment, no problem, but it's that approval that they're trying to work on. So again, it does originate at the client, the buyer level. And unfortunately, in this story, circling back to it, having this on paper where you have this foreign income and you have, the employment verification, it checks out, you're basically creating the conduit and the on paper normalcy of big flows of money from one country or one place to another. You're allowing it to happen. It's making sense on paper now. making sense. I should put that in quotes because of what we just spoke about, those examples, but it's allowing that conduit, that flow of money. That flow of money gets pumped into Canadian real estate deemed as, again, a very stable investment, a great place to park money. And so ultimately you have, prices inflate, and the average Joe consumer cannot compete. So again, this is something that there's going to be more to this story as well. I'm sure other publications will pick this up. It just broke in the last couple days, but if you're trying to answer the question how we got to where we got, this is a large answer to that question. Of course, there's always the talk about the supply element. We don't have enough supply to keep up with immigration, to keep up with population growth. But obviously, things like this, they absolutely do not help affordability in Vancouver real estate or Canadian real estate for that matter. So guys, I want to know your thoughts. Leave in the comments below. What do you think about this situation? How are you feeling after hearing about this? You may again already be familiar and heard the previous stories of this happening for almost a decade now, but I want to know your opinion and how you're feeling. Leave it in the comments below. I want to thank you for watching this week's video. And again, if you're in the Vancouver area or the Fraser Valley, you want to work with me one-on-one, you can reach out to me through the Calendly link below, or you can just send me a text, give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever works for you. I'd be happy to chat with you one-on-one. But I want to thank you again for watching this week's video, and I look forward to seeing you next week.